So first we have the EVGA GeForce GTX 1080 hybrid graphics card. Underneath is the Asus Republic of Gamers Maximus 9 Formula motherboard. Next to it is the S340 Elite chassis. And then we have the NZXT Kraken X62 CPU cooler. Underneath it is the EVGA Supernova 750 G2 power supply. That's gold 80 plus rating. Here we have the Corsair Vengeance LED 64GB RAM, 3200 MHz speed. And then here we have the Intel Core i7 7700K unlocked CPU. Next to it is the Seagate Barracuda 2TB internal hard drive. Following there is Samsung 1TB Evo 850, and then last we have the SanDisk Ultra 2 480GB SSD. So here we have the NZXT S340 Elite tower. We have very clean and nice finish, matte white finish. There are two other colors, black and black with the red accent. Front is pretty clean, simple. There's nothing, just the logo. We have all of the I/O up front on top. We have 4 USBs. There's a power button and then headphone jack. To get inside, we have 4 thumb screws, which you can open. By the way, this is, I believe, tempered glass, not the plexiglass, so we're not going to have to worry about the scratches that much. Just going to put this aside. And then inside we have place for the motherboard, some room for the cable management. We have 3 trays for SSD card. However, you could use this for, I believe, the NZXT Hue Plus for controlling some of the LEDs if you wanted to put in there. We have room for the radiator and the fans. 2 fans already come with it. There's room for the power supply underneath here. The internal hard drives go inside here from the back. You can open up the back piece there. And then the front panel, I believe you just give it a little bit of tug and it just pops open. Takes a little bit of force, but there's a magnetic dust cover here as well. Mesh. Nice. So here we have the Asus ROG Maximus 9 Formula motherboard. This is based on their new Z270 line of the motherboards that supports the Kaby Lake processors by Intel. This says that it has support for Intel Optane memory, NVIDIA SLI, as well as AMD Crossfire. That's if you were to put more than one graphics card in it and you can bridge them together. And it also supports the Asus Aura Sync. Beside the NZXT product that you can put in to control the lighting, you can I think buy the Aura Sync by Asus, and it will control all of the Asus products by one single hub unit. So let's get started and open the mother box. So here's a look at the motherboard. We have the CPU that goes here, DDR4 memory slots. We have a couple of slots for the graphic cards. Then we have some heat sinks. We have start and reset buttons, and then LED for any internal errors that the motherboard will put out. We have a few slots here for SATA, some USB, and then peripherals. Other inputs that go here, like the fans and other stuff. Now let's take a look at the side AIO. Here we have reset BIOS button and clear CMOS button, Wi-Fi antennas. We have the HDMI cable that will go here. I think the front USB 3.0 will be coming out of here somewhere. Yeah, right here, 3.1, that's a 10 gigabits per second speed. We have USB Type B interfaces, Type A interfaces, and then USB Type C reversible Ethernet connection, then audio peripherals here. Take a look at the back, and then let's focus on the back. We won't be doing much with the back. I think we will be installing a backplate for the CPU cooler, but that will be a little bit down the road. Besides that, we won't be doing much with the back. I have to say this motherboard is pretty heavy. There are a few places where there are embedded LEDs that will light up when the motherboard is connected and powered on, and these can be controlled by the either Hue Plus by NZXT, or I think there is a ASUS Aura controller that you can install, and it will control not only the LEDs on the motherboard but other peripherals that you might want to install later on, like the RAM or a CPU cooler. So that's a look at the motherboard. Now take a look at the CPU and how to install it here. Here we have the Intel Core i7 7700K processor, KB leg processor. Let's get started. Okay, there isn't much inside the box beside the manual and the chip, but again we don't need much. This is going to be a fairly simple install. Be very careful when you open this. You don't want to touch any of the connectors here. They are very sensitive and you could potentially fry this chip if you touch any of this. There is a very easy but only one way to install this processor inside the motherboard, which I'll be showing you later on. So this is a look at the processor. 7700K i7 4.2 gigahertz, unlocked, so we will be overclocking this, but let's see how far we go. Next we have the Corsair Vengeance LED DDR4 64GB 3200 megahertz RAM. Let's open it, take a look at it. Two packs. Now when you go to install this, there's only one way to install this LED RAM. As you can tell by the teeth, there are a number of teeth on one side and the other, and there's a slot in the middle that's not directly in the middle, it's offset by a little bit. So there's only one way to install this RAM, and we'll be installing all four of them. Next we have the EVGA GeForce GTX 1080 graphics card. This is a hybrid graphic card, so there is internal water cooler, so that's why the graphic card packing is a little bit bigger than the others. But this is top of the line, and I'm really excited about it. This is the costliest piece of this build. So I'll go ahead and open this now. Here we go. Might be a CD, some manuals in here, drivers. This is the beauty itself. Voila. There we go. As I said, this is the graphic card itself, and then two pipes that connect to the fan and then the radiator in the back. Here we go. Here's a look at the back. Here's a look on the side. All the ports are covered up. awesome. We have two fans here. And we have some cables. Now they provide, I believe this is for the AMD system, if you have an AMD processor and AMD supporting CPU motherboard. And then this is, I believe, for the Intel system. So we'll be using this and the screws along with it to hook it up to the motherboard and then connect it to the CPU. Power cable, and then set of connectors that will connect to the motherboard and the power supply. And then here's a look at the, you can look, there's already compound applied to it, so you won't need to apply any to the CPU yourself. But I've seen some videos where people wipe this off and they want to apply compound to the CPU themselves and then attach this on. Here we have the EVGA Supernova 750 Gold Series. This is 80 plus gold rating, 750 watts power supply. So let's go ahead and get this open. So here we have all of the wires, and they're all labeled as to which one goes where. User manual. By the way, this is a fully modular power supply. All the connectors will go here and they're all labeled which one goes where. All the SATA cables here, the 24 pin for the motherboard, the CPU, VGA, CPU 2. So that's a look at the EVGA Supernova 750 G2 power supply. Here we have all of the storage that we'll be using for this build. We have the Samsung 850 EVO 1TB solid state drive, the SanDisk 480 GB solid state drive, and then we have the Seagate Barracuda 2TB internal hard drive. So the power and then the motherboard connector. Next we have Samsung EVO 850 1TB. Very simple, easy. Okay, the way to install a CPU is very simple and fairly easy. You go ahead and push on this lever. Lift it back. Be very careful on where you put your fingers. Go ahead and grab it from the side. Now there is the golden triangle on one of the corners, and there are two notches on the other opposite corners in the rear. It matches a triangle that's on this chip right here. There's a triangle, and if you lift this open, there is another dot right here that points to where it goes, and then there are two notches in the back right here. So let's go ahead and pull this out, drop it in here, and as soon as I drop it, it sits right there. It doesn't want to move. There's no wiggle room. It's set. So now take this tab off right here at this point, or some people just drop it down and these two tabs will go underneath the screw. and then from here you can just press on it and this comes off. Now you want to hold on to this, save it inside the box. You don't want to lose it, because if there's something wrong with the motherboard, they want this tab back. So go ahead, I'm going to go ahead and save this on the side. So here we have all of the RAM. The way you install it is, if you're installing only 2 DIMMs, make sure you install it using the reference here. It tells you which 2 slots to fill first, and then go forward with if you have more than 2 slots. So it's telling me to fill slot A2 and B2, which is these 2 gray slots. So go ahead and push the tab open, all of them, and then when you insert your DIMMs, these will automatically close. So let's take the first 2 out. And you want to match the teeth with the slot. There's one side that has more teeth and the other side has less number of teeth. So you want to see which way it goes first. Yep. And then you want to install it. Press on one side, press the other side, and it clicks in. Simple as that. And that's all of the DIMMs installed. That's how you install the DIMMs. Now we'll move forward. Before going any further, I want to point out quickly that we will be installing the back plate for the CPU cooler. At this point, using 4 screws, we'll put this in place, and then we'll install the motherboard inside the CPU case. Flip this over. And we just place these in here. And let's flip it around. And you should see it protrude through on the other side. 1150 Plus series. This is the one that we're going to be using. So go ahead and screw it in here. Last piece. Yep, that's how you install the backplate, and we'll move forward by installing this inside the NZXT case. Next we'll install the motherboard inside our case. So at this point, inside the motherboard we have the RAM, we have the processor, and on the back we have the backplate for the CPU cooler. So let's go ahead. So it took me a little while to figure this out, but I wasn't sure which screws to use to hold this motherboard. It uses 9 screws, and the chassis comes with these screws. These are labeled as 632 screw flat. There are about 15 to 16 screws in here. I'm gonna take some out and screw the motherboard into the chassis. place the heatsink on top of the processor and bolt it in. So here we go. I'm going to use these thumb screws that came along with the box and start tightening this with hand. So as you can see, at this point the label will be right side up, and you know that it's inserted correctly is also because the USB, micro USB port is right here, and then SATA port is right here, and these two should be up. And this unit will be installed. I'm not sure if I'm gonna go with the pipes down or the pipes up, but I know that the fans will go in first. So I'm going to put this on the side for now and install the fans. The fans have to go first because the IO that's here will not let the radiator go in first. There's just not enough room. So the fans have to go first. And I'm going to do the configuration such that the air is being pushed in rather than pulled out. So let's go ahead and bolt the fans. Now the fan body, the radiator, came with a pack of screws. There are about 16 of these long screws with washers. So let's go ahead and put those in and bolt these fans down first, and then we'll put in the radiator. So here I have unpacked the radiator and the graphics card that I'm going to be installing here. But I want to show you this piece of paper that came with the graphics card. It shows you what not to do and how to do it. Basically, when you're installing the graphics card, make sure that the radiator is above the graphics card, not below the graphics card. So let's go ahead and get started with that. First, I'm going to have to open up these slots from the back of the case. It simply goes into the top one, this top PCI Express lane. Line it up once it's the back two ports are in slot in space, you're just going to simply press down on it, and it just sits right in the PCI Express slot. It's snug, not going to move, and I can see that all of the ports are visible in these two brackets. So I know that this is in place. Move the new radiator with the fan right here. So these are different size screws than what this radiator will take. So remember those leftover screws that we didn't put into the radiator on the front? Those work nicely on the back. So I'm going to take 4 of those and screw this radiator in. So before we install the power supply, I'm going to install the internal hard drive here, because if I install the power supply first, I won't be able to access the screws and install the hard drive here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that first, and once I'm done, I'll go ahead and install the power supply through here and route all the cables to where they need to go. So in order to install it, you have 2 bays here. You can choose whichever one you like. I'm going to go ahead and install it on the top one. I'm just going to slide it inside the tray and use the leftover screws that I have from the 6-32 packet. I have a few left. I'm going to go ahead and install those in. At this point, I'm going to start wiring the PSU. I'm not sure what all the cables that I'm going to need. I know there are some extra ones inside the box. So here we have the power cable, we have a CPU power cable, that is the 24 pin connector for the motherboard. We're going to use one VGA connector and one SATA. This is going to power the SSDs. I might need more, but I'm not sure at this point. So let's get started with the 24 pin motherboard. connected this 8-pin CPU connector that has two 4x4 connectors. I connected them right here on top. Then I just connected this 24-pin to the motherboard, and then I connected this VGA, which is an 8-pin, to the graphics card. So after connecting the HD audio for the front I/O, the motherboard box came with this piece that has these connectors all the way across except for the last one. And basically it's the same thing as that right front panel corner of the mother box, but it lets you organize your front I/O cables before you insert them individually. So here I have the positive power LED connected to the positive power LED, and then negative to the negative, and then power switch to the power and the ground. That's connected. So there are only 4 connectors on this side. And then on the back you have the positive LED for the hard drive, negative LED for the hard drive, but this is just one switch, so it just slides in. However, on the back of this there is an arrow that tells you where the positive is, so you have to worry about the positive on that side. And then we don't have any reset button on this tower, but if you were to have any, those would go here. So I'm just going to go ahead and connect this right here. So after connecting the front I/O, I found out that since it only has one 2.0 USB 2.0 connector, I still needed to connect the water pump. So I unhooked the front I/O USB 2.0. I brought this wire from behind the motherboard and connected it to the USB 2.0 connector, and then this other set of wires that is connected to this pump, one is going back and connecting to all of these fans that have the 4-pin connectors and the top one, so that they're all daisy chained, and then it's connecting to the SATA cable from the power supply to draw power. And then there is one connector that is connecting to the CPU fan controller. That's a 3-pin header that's connecting to a 4-pin port right there, so that the fan can be controlled. So now next I'm going to use these solid state drives. I'm going to connect these right here, bring in the power supply from underneath the motherboard, and then also bring in the data connections from right here, go back, and then bring them from underneath this port as well. So that will be the end of it, I think. So let's see. So at this point I have connected the SATA cable from the power supply to both of these hard drives, and I have brought the cables from underneath. Now I'm going to connect them using these provided SATA cables that will connect to the motherboard. Here is the back of the CPU. I did some cable management, tied some cables with either the zip ties or using the built-in holders. So I think it looks pretty good. All the connectors are connected. I haven't put in the side panels or the front panels yet. I want to turn it on and see if everything works. Also, I noticed that there is a puck that is provided by NZXT for headphone / cable management. It just snaps on to the tower. You can tie around your headphones and whatnot. So that's pretty good. That's handy. So I'm gonna go ahead and power it on and see if everything works. Hopefully everything works, and if not, I'll troubleshoot it. So I have the power cord connected in the back. Everything looks good. I'm gonna go ahead and power it on. Okay, it's lighting up. Whew. Let's go ahead and peel this off. Okay. So nothing going crazy. I think we have a successful build. Wow. Let's see. Okay, right off the bat I can notice that one of the RAM isn't all the way in, or maybe it's not connected. I have to check on that one. But the graphics card is on, the CPU cooler is on, 3 of the sticks are on. Okay, that's not bad. Fan is pushing out air. Air is coming out of here. Those two are working fine. These are also pushing air in. Okay. So it looks like everything is fine. So I fixed the RAM and I connected it to the display. So let's see if it powers on and if anything else goes wrong. Okay, all of the RAMs are lighting up. That's good. It's showing me number 55. Let me see what that code is. Memory not installed. Okay. That is interesting. Still. So I unplugged the memory and plugged it back in and restarted the computer, and it's coming back on without any problem. There is no more code 55 showing up on the screen on the motherboard. So it seems like it just needed to be reset, and yeah, so everything is looking great. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the side panel on. I'm gonna cover the back panel as well, and the front, and I think that should be it. So here is the completed build. Everything is put together, the back piece, the tempered glass, and now I will install the front dust cover and the front shield or the front panel. So guys, here's the completed build. Everything is put back together, the side panel, the front panel, and this side panel as well. Everything is working fine. Didn't have any major hiccups. A few small ones here and there, but everything worked out great.